In this episode, we're summarizing the 10th episode from Season 3 of the Wire series titled Reformation. The episode first aired on November 28, 2004. In the beginning, young Stanfield associates Justin and Jamal hear gunfire and discover the body of LaTroy, a Stanfield lieutenant. Snoop arrives, instructs them to get in her truck for safety, and drives away. Meanwhile, Marlo Stanfield, protected by bodyguards, sets up a night ambush for Devin, the woman from a previous failed trap. Marlo shoots her 3 times, with Parlo justifying the murder as necessary. Later on, Detective Vernon Hawley attends a crime scene in the Western District, linking the Barksdales to a drug murder due to the ongoing war. Fruit sees the body of his colleague. Slim Charles reports to Avon Barksdale about 2 deaths in Stanfield's crew. The murder leads to a police crackdown affecting dealers from Proposition Joe's co-op, who complain to Joe about the war affecting their business. We see Stringer Bell meets with Shamrock at the funeral home and expresses annoyance about the change in bodyguards. He inquires about their drug business and finds out they are running low on product. Stringer attends a meeting with Proposition Joe and co-op members in a pawn shop. Joe warns Stringer that the Barksdales risk exclusion from the co-op if the war persists. Marlo may consider a truce to maintain his territory. Proposition Joe tells Stringer that he is having a leadership crisis. We also see Avon, Slim Charles, and Stringer are strategizing for their war, but Stringer interrupts with news of Proposition Joe's truce offer. Stringer reveals the co-op's plan to exclude them if the war persists, accusing Avon of being intoxicated by war leadership. He questions Avon's motives in the game, and Avon, unmoved and citing Marlo's recent murder, insists on continuing the war. Stringer, facing a challenging choice, ultimately calls the Western District Police. Afterward, he learns that property development grants were granted, but not to his company. He instructs Shamrock to deliver documents to their lawyer, Levi. Back at the Western District, Major Colvin expresses gratitude to Sergeant Carver, but criticizes him for not excelling as an investigator, emphasizing the need for confidential informants. Colvin underscores the importance between the drug war and traditional police work, urging Carver to gather information to protect the community. The revelation of Colvin's free zones prompts a reporter's interest. Colvin, with Detective Herc and Officer Truck unintentionally revealing details, tries to manage the situation. Colvin decides to admit his involvement and confront the consequences head-on. During the Comstat meeting, Major Colvin showcases the positive transformation of once crime-ridden streets. Deputy Commissioner Rawls quickly realizes that Colvin has essentially legalized drugs in certain areas, branding him as insane. Commissioner Burrell, angered, ends the meeting abruptly and confronts Colvin with Rawls and Major Reed. Burrell fears for his job and claims the entire department is at risk because of Colvin. Colvin, willing to take full responsibility, threatens to lie about who sanctioned his actions to protect his subordinates. Burrell, incredulous, instructs Colvin to take vacation to avoid scandal. Colvin mentions a Baltimore Sun reporter delaying a story about Amsterdam on his way out. In the political world, Burrell informs Mayor Royce and Chief of Staff Parker about Colvin's actions. Parker suggests that Burrell might be fired for his lack of knowledge. Burrell presents crime reduction data and supportive letters from Colvin's district, emphasizing their importance for Royce's upcoming election. Despite Burrell's suggestion to strategically break the story, Royce is impressed with the crime drop and dismisses Burrell to consider how to leverage this information. Carcetti and D'Agostino lead a campaign strategy meeting addressing the crucial issue of race. The team emphasizes the need for African Americans in their campaign and endorsements from Black community leaders. D'Agostino stresses keeping Anthony Gray in the race to split the Black vote. As we catch up with the major case unit, Detective McNulty expresses frustration to Freeman about the absence of wiretaps. Daniels and Perlman meet with Judge Felon, who flirts with Perlman. They discuss challenges in wiretapping drug dealers. Felon offers to sign wiretap affidavits as they discover the phone numbers. Remember, I am summarizing this entire series, as well as other popular works of literature, movies, and TV shows as well. Subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss the next episode or series. If you would like to see the playlists of our current summaries, click on the link in the description. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter for additional content. Click like on the video if you found it valuable, because that helps YouTube recommend it to viewers like you. Consider supporting us on Patreon if you can. Doing this helps my channel out tremendously. I really do thank you for your support. Later on, Daniels and Perlman debrief with McNulty, who wants to expedite paperwork. Daniels advises caution to McNulty, but McNulty is upset about Judge Felon's involvement, recalling past issues. Daniels highlights McNulty's tendency to dismiss those in his way, and McNulty acknowledges this is true. Freeman then identifies Bodie Broaddus's voice on a call, leading to a wiretap with coded drug discussions. Bodie mentions Amsterdam, raising suspicions. McNulty, Greggs, and Massey plan to observe Bodie's meeting. Daniels shares news about internal investigations involving Prez. Massey questions potential racial bias in Wagner's shooting, while Freeman defends Prez, attributing the incident to suspect profiling. McNulty shares his relationship issues with Greggs while awaiting a stakeout. The next day, he reports success in tracking Tweety Bird. The unit is frustrated with the Barksdales ditching phones. Sidnor suggests following Bernard and Squeak for wiretaps on new phones. Greggs questions the effort for short-lived phones, and Daniels seeks a proactive approach. Perlman proposes pre-wiretapping the phones. Freeman and McNulty suggest supplying phones to Bernard directly. Sidnor observes Stringer acting suspiciously on the unit's camera, and later, Stringer makes a call to the Western District. McNulty and Greggs consult Bubbles about Bernard and Squeak. Bubbles agrees to talk to Squeak. Freeman discusses using Bubbles to set up an undercover meeting with Squeak. Daniels and Perlman present the plan to Felon, who approves it despite legal concerns. McNulty meets with Colvin, who hints at Avon's whereabouts without revealing his source. The next day, Greggs and McNulty inform Bubbles about selling phones to Squeak. While talking, McNulty mistakenly thinks he sees Beatty Russell driving past, but it turns out to be someone else. Later, Bubbles recounts with Squeak, revealing that he sells cell phones. Squeak sets up a meeting between Bernard and Freeman, who poses as Bubbles' supplier. Freeman, using the alias Calvin, convinces Bernard by showcasing his ability to read numbers. They go to a staged cell phone shop, where Freeman explains a scheme of reactivating discarded phones with fake accounts. Massey acts as Freeman's niece and assistant. Although Bernard is convinced, he insists on doctored receipts as part of the deal. In another scene, Brother Mouzone is back in Baltimore. Mouzone comes across Detective Holly's crime scene and later finds the site of the now demolished towers he once defended. He meets with Vincent, providing a description of Omar Little. Vincent informs him that Omar is an independent operator and is not linked to any crew. Brother Mouzone instructs Lamar to visit bars and act as bait to lure Omar. Despite not finding Omar, Lamar's aggressive behavior attracts attention. In the search, Lamar offends a bartender, leading to a confrontation with Dante. Brother Mouzone then intervenes and captures Dante. Later on, Omar consults with Butchie about the Barksdale's attacks on his grandmother during the Sunday truce. Butchie, disapproving of the truce violation, reveals the Barksdale's funeral home as their base. Omar, angered by Butchie's delayed disclosure, begins surveilling the funeral home and observes Stringer leaving. In another scene, the deacon visits Cuddy at the gym, where Cuddy is fixing up the equipment. They talk about involving children in the gym. Later, Cuddy goes to Amsterdam, finds Carver organizing a basketball game, and discusses his boxing initiative. Carver directs him to a corner with children prone to fighting. Cuddy intervenes in a fight between Justin and Spider, breaking it up and starting to teach them some basic boxing moves. Justin and friends visit the gym, criticize the equipment, and start playing football. Cuddy struggles with their energy and loses his temper when Justin insults him. Justin, aware of the consequences, leaves. Cuddy discusses the challenge with a trainer who advises patience. Cuddy apologizes to Justin and later finds him to make amends. Justin returns, finding Cuddy training another young enthusiast at the gym. That was episode number 35, titled Reformation. To watch the next or previous episode summary, click on the link in the description or at the end of this video. In the description, you will also find additional links for supporting our channel. I will see you on the next episode. Goodbye.